Hello all, this is your spoiler warning to warn you that there are in fact spoilers.
Hello people, my name is Luke, and before I get to the episode today I have a bit of a rant. I'm not really angry per se, but I've got a load of stuff I need to either do or ignore, and I don't like either of those choices. You see, the latest monster, Kulve, has joined the roster. It's a giant elder dragon. It is probably one of the most impressive elder dragons I've seen. This is Laoshan standard, and basically I'm in love with this fight. I love the multiple stages and I love how the combat style changes. But aside from that, the equipment is going to cause me a major headache. The armor isn't too bad. I might be able to find a way to squeeze it in if I remove leather or chain armor. The weapons, on the other hand, there are, well, I don't even know how many there are if I'm honest. I've seen quite a few. I've done 2 sieges so far and I've had at least 15 weapons. I think I can say with absolute certainty I'll be selling any rarity 6 or 7 weapons, but aside from that I don't know how many rarity 8s there are, and I suppose I'm just going to have to find out. On top of that, my deliveries have now been ruined as well. I like keeping everything complete and up to date, but now I've got to farm a shitload of BiRcHeY tickets for some overlay armor I don't even want. So yes, there's a lot of stuff to do. I'm not going to say I'm pissed off, but I don't know. There's always more things to do and they just keep adding more. My only issue is, Capcom, if you're going to keep throwing new monsters and equipment at me, especially ones with the amount of equipment that Kulve have, for the love of God, please upgrade the storage box so I can actually do it properly. Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Luke, and welcome to episode 3 of an Idiot's Challenge. This is where shit gets serious. So, last time I mentioned that I'd be starting the monster culls this week, and that's exactly what I'm doing. We're going to be going in, telling you all about the monsters, the equipment you need to get, and how much of a struggle it was to get through it. So, for the first episode this week, I've decided to start arbitrarily with the Great Girros. I think it's a nice middle ground. Let's see how I did. So, the Great Girros is a fairly meh monster. There's not really much to tell. I doubt I need to describe it to you. It's the tiny, toothy monster, and it dresses like a BiRcHeY-BaBy. But yeah, there's really not much to tell. It's got no special resonance with me. The only special thing is that I refer to it fondly as Gary. You see, a friend of mine refers to all monsters by human names as he feels it personifies them and it's slightly more amusing. I also like to consider that they might have jobs and families and other things outside of eating and getting slaughtered. But yes, the Great Gary, or Gary the Girros if you will, is not much of a challenge to anyone, even through high rank. In fact, it takes a posse of many micro-Garys in order for him to pose a threat at all. However, if you don't prepare adequately, much with any monster, you can easily get screwed over. So the major issues here are paralysis, effluvium, and the very angry neighbours in the Rotten Vale. The problem in high rank that I bumped into a lot was that because the monster pool is so small in the Rotten Vale, if a Doggeron or Radaban aren't present, then it's quite likely you'll get a Devilyo or a BiRcHeY instead. And this won't necessarily ruin a hunt for you, but it can slow things down or give you a bit of a headache, so do be careful for that. In preparation for this cull then, I've put together an armor set from the little bits that I have. And I've got basically the exact skills you'd need to take on a Girros and a couple of extras. So I've got Paralysis level 3, I've got Effluvium Resistance and Effluvium Expert, and I've also got Thunder Resistance as well because the Girros' natural element is Thunder. On top of that, I've just thrown some defense gems, some vitality gems and some attack gems on top, and it's a fairly basic armor set. But with that paralysis resistance especially, it means we're not going to get thrown to the floor and start wobbling or spazzing about. Now, for the weapons, I thought I'd do something a bit more interesting. So, as I've said multiple times now, I'm keeping my weapon usage even, still doing that, I know. But I figured while I'm doing it, I can take each and every weapon against the Great Girros and see if there are any shining advantages or horrifying disadvantages to any of the weapon types. So I've gone through from Great Sword all the way through to Bow, and the results were actually quite surprising. I found some weapons I thought would be quite good to be quite terrible, and I found weapons that I thought had no chance of taking down a Girros effectively were actually some of the best contenders. So the bad news first is that unfortunately the last place for all of the weapon types goes to one of my favourites, and that's the Lance. The Lance has a lot of advantages in that it can strafe a monster and focus on the weak points especially, but with so many little Girros about and with the speed and size of a Great Girros, it's really difficult to maneuver and get effective hits in. I mean, I do love the Lance, but I really wouldn't recommend it for this fight. On the flip side, my number one actually goes to a very surprising choice. I figured that taking a ranged weapon against a Great Girros was stupid, because the area is so small and there are little Girros everywhere. But taking a light bowgun with spread shot and Wyvern blast, it clears out the little Girros in seconds and does a lot of damage while still being quite good fun. In order to cull the Great Girros then, the equipment you need to get is 2 full armor sets, and there's also a couple of parts of the Damascus armor that require Great Girros hide. There's also 15 weapons, 6 of which are fully upgraded, and there are 6 charms. Now, one of the charms I don't have, but that's just because you have to get to Hunter rank 100 to unlock it, and I'm sure we don't want to wait for me to get there before I actually start doing these, so I'm sure I can just pick that up when I get there. But other than that, going through this was not difficult, it was just time consuming. The biggest issue was the Omniplagia sacks, which for the love of God use your tail raiders. I would do 4 Great Girros investigations and get not a single Omniplagia sack. Tail raiders you can get up to 6, so definitely recommend that. And the Elder Dragon of choice for the Girros weapons is the Valhazak, so expect a lot of Valhazak hunts as well. But all in all, it wasn't overly difficult in order to get all of the equipment. It probably took me about 3 or 4 days with other jobs throughout the day, so I'd say it's quite doable. Let's see if it was worth it. After a few days of Gary hunts then, I have taken down 49 Great Girros. That's too many, and I've only got 1 silver crown for it. But I suppose we better see whether I'm actually going to get what I need from this. So I'm now going to sell off the resources. I'm starting off at 54,000, and we'll see how much I end up with. You can see I'm leaving 1 of every item here just so it holds its place in the box, because I like having a nice tidy box. And I need evidence that I at least got everything as well. So drum roll please, we are at 563,000. So even for a monster as small as a Great Girros, that's an increase of about 510,000 zenny. So that instills me with some confidence that this is probably going to go well. Just imagine what that might be with a bigger monster. So with that, I am very excited to move on to the next episode. So I will see you guys there. I hope you enjoyed this one, and let's do some more of this. Thanks guys, see you then. Special mention to the switch axe and its axe mode sweep attacks. That's a mouthful. Axe mode sweep attacks. Special mention to the switch axe and its axe mode sweep attacks. Hey, there we go.